Good evening, this is Salena-Hawkins back again. And what I'm going to do is finish today what I was supposed to finish yesterday. But as we all know, sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. For those who were following the story, a long short story called the Senior Citizen Suicide Group. I'll do a little overlap here to bring us up to date and continue on from that point. Amazing. We had a president and most of his administration lied to us to support a war that was unnecessary and virtually unwinnable. And we bought the whole bag of nuts. The Iraqi invasion was primarily about securing the second largest deposit of oil on earth after our ally, Saudi Arabia. But no one could say that after the invasion. All kinds of oblique reasons were offered. We're knocking Saddam Hussein and his brutal regime out of the box. We're going to give you guys democracy. It may be at the point of but you'll get the hang of it after 100 years or so. Oops, didn't mean that. Iraq swam in front of his consciousness, merging with the fleecy clouds storming in front of his bedroom window. An incredible place, Iraq, a cradle of civilization with a madman in charge, Saddam. We gave the war profiteers. Can anybody think of a better name for the Cheney scheme? The guy had a company over in Iraq selling stuff. We gave the war profiteers an opportunity to tear the place up and for friends of the vice president to rebuild it. Spiro Agnew and his Maryland games have to be considered small in comparison. And Cheney, nepotism, well, hell, if you're part of the regime, very clever. Start a war that your company can supply. What was the name of his company? I can't even remember.
Was it Black something?
Halifax Company.
Blackwater or?
No, that was Blackwater. That was a private army.
Oh, that's right.
Run by another guy, but we're getting off the track here.
Okay, right.
He smiled, conquering his shivering. What are these bureaucrats? What are these bureaucrats doing? The one who write unreadable reports. These brilliant assholes. What are they going to write about us? The City Terrorists Senior Citizens Suicide Group.
Yes.
Yeah, get with that. You media people are so full of government-infested propaganda ethics by now that you might describe our protest suicides as an aberrant thing. What would happen if a dozen other senior citizens decided to pull the plug? The thought caused him to laugh out loud. Oops, gotta be careful. Don't tip them off about what's about to happen. But I'm pretty certain they're going to be surprised at who we are. The Alzheimer couple? No. Corey Evans? No. Clarence T. Connolly? No. Too involved with his own propaganda. James Johnson Jones. Okay now, Mr. Jones, let's not create any problems, okay? Billiams, the super sharp ward nurse, Louise Fletcher, alias Murphy Ratchet, doing her ward thing with a handful of locals was a tough nut to crack. Billiams/Jones. There was really no contest. After all, Jones's world was the facility. Billiams's world was beyond there. When me and my husband sit on a good catfish dinner, I can blot them all out. You know what I'm saying? Billions is sharp. I'll have to keep an eye on her. What the hell is this thing with people about suicide anyway? Why shouldn't we have the right to end our own lives? The thought irritated him so much he squirmed around on his bed for a moment or so. That's what's wrong with this damn world. Everybody we turn to, we got some rotten corrupt, crack-brained bureaucrat telling us what we should do or shouldn't do. What with all the pain and misery in this life, they ought to be happy that a few of us should decide to make our own decisions about life or death. Spares them the effort. JJ, what are you doing out there? Nothing? Mrs. Jones crept to the screen door to spy on her son, the 12-year-old budding scientist, sitting on the back porch steps. Flashback. Methodically pulling the long back legs off of a collection of grasshoppers. She watched for a few moments, debated the idea of stopping him. He's always hurting something or destroying something, just the way his father used to do. Come on in here, Ella, and close the door. Why? Because I'm going to kick your fucking worthless black ass. That's what I'm going to do. She felt tears come to her eyes, remembering. Now listen to me close, Ella, because I ain't going to repeat myself. Whoever you choose to marry is your own business. That's the way me and your daddy feel about it. But I got to ask, why in the world would you choose a white man? And a poor-ass white man at that. Because I love Jake, Mom. I love Jake. Well, it's your little red wagon now. 10 long, hard, solid years of domestic abuse. How the hell could a white husband be racist? And at the same time defend his family against racism? It's a screwy world, boy, I'm telling you. It's a screwy world. If that porch light comes on when one of them cracker-ass motherfuckers shows up, I'm gonna blow his fucking ass straight to hell. 10 years of contradictions, confusions, abuse. How can I go to my father and tell him that this man is beating me up every week? 10 years of torture, of emotional pain, and then there was the baby, James Johnson Jones, JJ. Jake loved his son, but he didn't know where to place him on his racial landscape. Whoa, hold on here just a fucking minute. How can they define my son's black when I'm the fucking father? That's the way things are, Jake. You know how it is. Jake evaporated 3 months after James Johnson Jones's birth. You sure this is my kid? He's awfully fucking dark to be the son of a white man. Ella didn't mourn Jake's disappearance or feel puzzled in any deep way. Maybe he dived into something that was just a little too deep for him to handle. That was the way she grew to think about the situation, and under the influence of the right kinds of pills and a cheap bourbon, any kind, she grew to become a bad mother. Seriously. JJ crossed his arms across his muscular chest and glared at the ceiling. Boy, don't you talk back to me. I'm your mother. I brought you into the world and I can take you out. You hear what I'm saying? Yes, ma'am. JJ curled himself into a fetal knot and squeezed his eyelids together, but the tears still flowed over his face. He smeared the tears across his face with the palms of his hands. What's the point of crying about stuff that happened way back then? Then was then, and now is now. He turned to glare at the light fixture in the ceiling for a few moments, and then curled back into his favorite sleeping position, nodding off, thinking about the kind of poison he wanted to use to give to the people in the city Terrence senior citizen facility who had made the decision to end their lives with him under his direction. Cora Evans was plain spoken about her concerns. I don't want to take nothing that's going to cause my face to squelch all up or have me drooling like a mad dog, okay? He had reassured her that her face wouldn't be contorted and that she wouldn't drool. He nodded off, feeling full of himself. No one had ever followed him anywhere, into anything. And now there were 4 people willing to follow him to their deaths. He found the thought strangely intoxicating. strangely intoxicated. He looked up and down the corridor outside the TV rec room. Have to be careful that old nosy-ass Nurse Williams doesn't march through here. No one. He whispered to the 4 people seated on the sofa. Mrs. Smith seemed to be enjoying a private joke. Her husband was shielding his eyes from a private cry. How long? Cora asked with a vicious gleam in her eyes, a curled down look on her lips. 3 to 5 seconds. That's it. Hitler's guys did it in 3 to 5 second max. Everybody got a cup of water? One of the daytimes judge somebody's or other was belaboring dysfunctional people with a legal judgment on the television. Clarence nodded, yes. They all nodded yes except for Charlene. She stared at their faces trying to remember where she had known them before. Or what connection they had to her. Mr. Jones placed a single capsule in each of their hands, 2 for Smith's hands, chin nodding at Melvin Smith's wife. You'll have to have her go first. You'll have to take care of her. Smith nodded in agreement. They wedged themselves together on the beat-up rec room sofa. Mr. Jones, taking charge as usual, stood in front of the quartet. Okay, everybody has a capsule and a cup of water. I'm going to ask Melvin to give his wife her medicine first. Melvin? What's the immediate effect of this medicine? Mrs. Spencer Smith asked, startling them with the clarity of her question. Mr. Jones raised a question mark eyebrow and nodded to Melvin Smith. You answer her question. It'll make you go to sleep. Charlene, it'll make you go right to sleep. For how long? She asked brightly. Oh, for a long time. Oh. Mr. Jones folded his hands together as though he was saying a silent, quick prayer. Well, folks, this is it. Let's start with Charlene, then Melvin, then you, Cora, then Clarence, and finally, yours truly. Let's roll. Melvin Smith nodded solemnly, handed his wife a capsule, watched her swallow it, and immediately fell back on the sofa, appearing to be in a deep sleep. Melvin Smith stared at his wife with peaceful expression for a moment, and then gulped his capsule down with the water. In quick succession, they followed their capsules. Cora Evans made a toast to Mr. Jones. Here's looking at you, kid.
For a minute.
Mr. Jones plopped into an overstuffed chair just as the poison relaxed his body forever. For a full minute, there was only the blaring of the television before Charlene Spencer Smith opened her left eye, peeked around at the comatose bodies, opened her right eye, and spat the cyanide capsule out. Over the course of her time in the City Terrace Senior Citizens Facility, she has become an expert at hiding pills and capsules under her tongue. I don't want to go to sleep for a long time, she mumbled, as she pulled herself off of the sofa and skipped out of the rec room. Like I said before, I noticed they were unusually quiet in the TV rec room. Everything seemed to be okay. Thank you, Nurse Williams. If we have any further questions, we'll get back to you. Mrs. Smith, we'd like to ask you a few questions, ma'am. Oh, this is so exciting. I don't think I've ever seen so many new faces in our hotel before. Yeah. Mrs. Smith, can you tell us anything about what you saw? What happened when your husband and the others when they did what they did? What do you want me to tell you? You want me to tell you that why they committed suicide? What can I tell you about why they decided to commit suicide? After all, don't forget, young man, I have Alzheimer's.
Convenient.
And that's the end of the senior citizen suicide group.
Oh, dark tongue in cheek.
I would say it's darker than that. I'd call it black comedy.
Black comedy.
So I felt compelled.
Okay.
I felt compelled to do it because we know that there are many senior citizens who do feel like they want to commit suicide. As a matter of fact,
Feel abandoned,
yeah,
especially in rest homes.
you know,
Mm-hmm.
they have people around them who don't care about them.
Mm-hmm.
They feel that they've lost their worth because they're a certain age.
Mm-hmm.
And as a senior citizen myself, I feel like I know that vibe.
But the one thing you also know is that every day above ground
Hey,
is better than one day underground.
hey, listen to Zola Salena-Hawkins,
Okay.
philosopher, producer, director.
And again, there's not enough time for happiness. There's no time for sadness.
Wasn't there a Chinese millionaire from Shanghai who said that?
Yes, it
That's
was.
memorable. I never
Yes,
will
it
forget
was.
it.
Definitely. So there's no time for sadness. And as long as you're able to get up and move, do it.
Hey,
As Master Tom would say. Just do it.
do it.
Do it.
Okay, well,
That?
that's the end of the short reading of another short reading.
And
And
that was part 2. And,
part 2.
And this is
It.
This